The UNS Thunderchild moved silently through space near Proxima Centauri. This massive warship represented humanity's first true interstellar fighting vessel. Its hull gleamed under the distant starlight, weapon ports closed but visible along its armored sides. Captain Jiwoo Park stood tall on the bridge, her uniform crisp and her eyes alert. She had served in Earth's combined space forces for 15 years before earning command of this historic ship. Her crew worked quietly at their stations around her, the best officers Earth had to offer. "Standard patrol route complete, Captain," reported Navigator Han Jin, his fingers moving across the holographic controls. "All systems normal." Captain Park nodded. These patrols were routine but necessary. Humanity had only recently ventured beyond their solar system, and they knew nothing about what, or who, might be waiting among the stars. "Continue monitoring all frequencies," she ordered Communications Officer Min-Soo. "And maintain full sensor sweep." The bridge fell silent again except for the soft hum of equipment. That silence broke suddenly when Lieutenant Do-hyun at the sensor station straightened in his chair. "Captain, unknown object detected at coordinates 227-43-891, he said, his voice careful but urgent. "It's moving, and it's not one of ours." The atmosphere on the bridge changed instantly. Every crew member became more alert, more focused. "Show me," Captain Park ordered. The main view screen shifted to display a strange vessel. It looked nothing like human ships. Where the Thunderchild was angular and armored, this ship was smooth with curves that seemed to flow like water. It glowed with soft blue light from various points on its hull. "First contact protocol," Captain Park said calmly, though her heart raced. Humanity had prepared for this moment for generations. "Alert all stations. Defensive posture only." The crew moved with practiced precision. They had drilled for this countless times, but now it was real. "No weapons detected on the alien vessel," reported Security Chief Jae-won. He sounded surprised. "Their hull appears to be primarily composed of materials similar to our civilian research vessels. They have no armor that our sensors can detect." Science Officer Hyejin looked up from her console. "Captain, their propulsion system is remarkably advanced. They're using some form of gravity manipulation we've only theorized about. But I'm not detecting any weapon systems whatsoever, nothing even comparable to our defensive capabilities." Captain Park considered this information. A spacefaring species with advanced propulsion, but no weapons? It seemed impossible based on human history. "They're transmitting something," Min-Soo announced. "Mathematical sequences and basic elements. I think it's a first contact package similar to our own." "Run it through the translation matrix," ordered Captain Park. Minutes passed as the computer analyzed the transmission. Finally, the view screen changed to show the image of a being. It had a humanoid shape, with smooth, pale skin and large, expressive eyes. Those eyes widened visibly when they saw the human bridge crew. The computer's voice announced, "Translation at 67% confidence." Then the alien spoke, its words converted to English. "Greetings, unknown vessel. We are Vidrani explorers on scientific mission. We seek knowledge of space beyond our worlds." Captain Park stepped forward. "I am Captain Jiwoo Park of the United Nations ship Thunderchild. We represent Earth and humanity. We come in peace." The alien's large eyes blinked rapidly. When it spoke again, there was a new tone in its voice that the translation program identified as distress, confusion. "Your vessel, its purpose is not clear to us. Our scans show many systems we cannot identify. What is the function of your ship?" Captain Park answered truthfully. "The Thunderchild is a protection vessel, a warship designed to defend human interests." There was a long pause before the alien responded. When it did, the translation program struggled to capture the emotional content, but the message was clear. "War, ship, you travel between stars with weapons? What manner of species builds vessels of destruction as their ambassadors to the unknown?" The bridge crew exchanged glances. This reaction was unexpected. Most human first contact scenarios assumed other species would also have military capabilities. "We come in peace," Captain Park repeated. "Our weapons are defensive. We wish to establish friendly communication." The alien seemed to consult with others off-screen. When it returned, it said something that made the bridge crew fall silent. "We have no concept in our language for warship. We have traveled space for 300 years and never encountered a species that brings weapons to new worlds. We find your presence disturbing." Captain Park realized this first meeting between humans and aliens was not going as anyone had predicted. The Vedrani weren't impressed by human technology or frightened of human weapons. They were troubled by their very existence. First contact had begun, but not in any way humanity had prepared for. The days following first contact were tense. Captain Jiwoo Park ordered the Thunderchild to maintain a respectful distance from the Vedrani vessel while communication continued. The alien ship had introduced itself as the Starlight Seeker, a scientific exploration vessel. "They still won't share their star charts with us," reported Communications Officer Minsu during the morning briefing. "They say they need approval from their leadership council first." Captain Park nodded. "They're being cautious. I would be too if I met a heavily armed species for the first time." Science Officer Hyejin had been analyzing the transmissions they'd received. "Captain, I've been studying their language and cultural references. The Vedrani truly appear to have no concept of warfare as we understand it. They have no military, no weapons development programs, not even defensive systems on their homeworld." "That's impossible," Security Chief Jaewon said, shaking his head. "Every intelligent species must face threats during evolution. Predators, resource competition, territorial disputes." "Not necessarily," Hyejin replied. "From what I can gather, the Vedrani evolved on a world with abundant resources and no natural predators for their species. Their society developed through cooperation rather than competition." Captain Park considered this information carefully. "So we're not just dealing with cultural differences, but evolutionary ones. No wonder they were shocked by our warship." The captain made a bold decision. She would invite a small Vedrani delegation aboard the Thunderchild as a show of trust. After consulting with Earth Command, who cautiously approved the plan, she extended the invitation. The Vedrani response came quickly. "We accept with scientific interest but personal apprehension." 3 days later, a small shuttle departed the Starlight Seeker and approached the Thunderchild's docking bay. Captain Park had ordered all crew to wear dress uniforms without sidearms. She wanted to make the right impression. The shuttle door opened to reveal 3 Vedrani. They were taller than humans, with slender bodies and those distinctive large eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Their skin had a faint blue tint that shimmered slightly under the bay lights. The lead Vedrani stepped forward and placed a hand over its chest. "I am Scientific Director Rath. These are my associates, Researcher Lena and Cultural Observer Taiho." Captain Park bowed slightly. "Welcome aboard the Thunderchild. I'm Captain Jiwoo Park. This is my first officer Sunmi. And Science Officer Hyejin." The Vedrani moved with graceful caution as they followed the humans through the ship. They flinched noticeably when they passed crew members in the corridors, their large eyes watching every movement. "Your vessel is very solid," Rath commented, touching a bulkhead. "Much thicker materials than our ships. It's designed to withstand damage," Captain Park explained. Then, seeing Rath's confused expression, she added, "For safety." "Damage from what?" asked Taiho, speaking for the first time. "Space debris can be detected and avoided." Before the captain could answer, they reached the ship's hydroponics bay. The room was filled with plants from Earth, vegetables, fruits, and flowers growing under special lights. Rath stopped abruptly, his posture changing. "You bring life with you, even on your war vessel." "Of course," Captain Park said. "Fresh food is important for long missions." Taiho moved closer to examine a tomato plant, touching one leaf gently. "We have similar growing chambers. Perhaps we are not so different after all." The tour continued to the medical bay, recreation areas, and finally the observation lounge with its large windows looking out into space. The humans deliberately avoided the weapon systems and armory. As they shared a meal of both human and Vedrani foods, carefully analyzed for compatibility, Captain Park asked the question that had been bothering her. How do your people resolve conflicts? The three Vedrani exchanged glances before Wrath answered. We discuss until consensus is reached. In our history, resources were always abundant. There was never a need to take from others. But what if someone disregards the consensus, acts against the group's wishes? Asked First Officer Sunmi. The Vedrani seemed genuinely confused by the question. Taiho finally responded, why would any individual act against what benefits all? It would harm themselves as well. Later, as the delegation prepared to return to their ship, cultural observer Taiho lingered behind the others. He approached Captain Park directly. Your people carry many burdens we do not understand, he said quietly. Your ships are heavy with weapons and armor. Your bodies are dense with muscle. Your minds are constantly alert for danger. It must be exhausting. Captain Park was struck by the insight. It's who we are. Our world shaped us this way. Perhaps, Taiho said, his large eyes studying her face. But I wonder if it is still necessary. The stars are vast. There is room, enough for all approaches to life. As the Vedrani shuttle departed, Captain Park received an urgent message. More Vedrani ships were approaching, many more. And according to the intercepted communications, not all Vedrani shared Taiho's philosophical perspective on the humans. Some viewed the warship as a threat that needed to be addressed before it was too late. The news spread quickly through Vedrani space. A species that built warships had been discovered. The Vedrani Collective Council held emergency meetings, while ordinary citizens shared worried messages about the predator species with weapons. Aboard the Thunderchild, Science Officer Hiejin worked day and night analyzing the Vedrani communications they were able to intercept. Captain, there's a growing division among their leadership, she reported to Captain Park during their morning briefing. Some want to continue peaceful contact, but others are pushing for what they call preventive measures. Captain Park frowned. Do they have weapons capable of threatening us? Not conventional weapons, Hiejin explained, but their terraforming technology is incredibly advanced. They can transform planetary atmospheres and ecosystems in days. That same technology could, theoretically, be turned against a ship or habitat. The captain considered this information carefully. So a peaceful species might become dangerous when frightened enough. Keep monitoring their communications. We need to know what we're facing. Meanwhile, in the engineering section of the ship, an unusual friendship had formed. Engineer Subin was showing Taiho, the Vedrani cultural observer who had stayed behind as a liaison, how the ship's propulsion system worked. Your engines are efficient but generate much heat, Taiho observed, his tall form bending to examine a conduit. Our drives produce almost no thermal signature. Subin nodded. I'd love to learn how your propulsion works. Maybe we could trade some non-military technology information? Taiho's large eyes blinked rapidly. What the humans had learned was a sign of deep thought among the Vedrani. I would like that. Though many in the collective now believe we should share nothing with humans. Because we have weapons? Subin asked directly. Not just weapons, Taiho replied, his voice soft. Your entire approach to existence. You prepare for conflict before it happens. The concept is alien to us. Their conversation was interrupted by the ship-wide alert system. Captain Park's voice came through the speakers. All personnel to stations. Multiple Vedrani vessels approaching. On the bridge, the main screen showed 7 Vedrani ships moving in a loose formation toward the Thunderchild's position. They were larger than the Starlight Seeker and shaped differently. More angular, less flowing in design. They're not responding to our hails. Communications Officer Minsu reported, frustration evident in his voice. Taiho arrived on the bridge with Subin. Captain Park turned to him immediately. What are those ships? They don't look like scientific vessels. They are not, Taiho admitted, his posture showing distress. Those are terraforming platforms. They reshape worlds for colonization. He paused before adding, Administrator Pell, Must have convinced the council to act. Act? How? Demanded Security Chief J1. Tejo's voice became very quiet. The platforms carry atmosphere conversion systems. They could, potentially, alter the atmosphere inside your ship. The bridge fell silent as the implications became clear. A species with no weapons had found a way to weaponize their peaceful technology. Captain Park broke the silence. Tactical assessment? Their ships have no military shielding, J1 replied. Our weapons could disable them easily, but that would confirm their fears about us. The captain nodded grimly. Exactly what we need to avoid. She turned to Tejo. Can you contact them? Make them understand we mean no harm? I will try. Tejo said. But Administrator Pell has been warning about species like yours since before I was born. He believes that any intelligent life that evolves with predatory instincts will always be dangerous. As Tejo worked with Communications Officer Minsu to establish contact, a transmission from Earth Command arrived. Admiral Namgyu's face appeared on a secondary screen. Captain Park, we've reviewed your situation. Your orders are to escort the original Vedrani vessel to neutral coordinates for formal diplomatic talks. Avoid any action that could be perceived as hostile. If attacked, you are authorized to defend yourself with minimal force only. Understood, Admiral, Captain Park acknowledged. But the situation has grown more complex. We now have multiple Vedrani vessels approaching and their intentions appear hostile. Find a peaceful solution, Captain, the Admiral insisted. The first interspecies contact cannot begin with conflict. After the transmission ended, Captain Park turned to find Tejo watching her with those large, expressive eyes. Your leaders also wish for peace, he observed. Perhaps there is hope. There's always hope, Captain Park replied firmly. But we need to convince those ships out there. How can we show them we're not a threat? Before Tejo could answer, Lieutenant Do-hyun at the sensor station called out, Captain, 3 more Vedrani vessels just arrived. They're placing themselves between us and the terraforming platforms. On the screen, they saw 3 ships similar to the original Starlight Seeker taking position protectively near the Thunderchild communications. Officer Minsu looked up in surprise. We're receiving a transmission from the lead ship. It's Scientific Director Rath. Rath's image appeared on screen. Captain Park, we apologize for this confrontation. Not all Vedrani share Administrator. Pell's fear, we have come to ensure peaceful dialogue, continues. The standoff had begun. The Thunderchild, caught between frightened aliens ready to attack and others willing to defend them, faced its greatest challenge yet, proving that a species evolved, for conflict could choose peace. The space around Proxima Centauri had become dangerously crowded. The Thunderchild remained at alert status, its crew tense but disciplined. 7 Vedrani terraforming platforms hung in space before them, while 3 scientific vessels had positioned themselves protectively near the human warship. They're powering up something, Lieutenant Do-hyun reported from the sensor station. Energy readings increasing on all terraforming platforms. Captain Ji-woo Park stood calmly at the center of the bridge, though her mind raced through options. Time until they're in range to affect our systems. 8 minutes at current approach speed, Security Chief Jae-won answered, his hands hovering over the weapons controls he hoped not to use. The captain turned to Tejo, who was watching the view screen with evident distress. Can you explain what they're planning? The Vedrani liaison's voice trembled slightly. The platforms are designed to release atmospheric conversion particles. They normally work slowly on planetary scales, but concentrated against a ship. He didn't finish the thought. Captain, Communications Officer Minsu called out. Administrator Pell is transmitting. The main screen changed to show an older Vedrani. His skin had a deeper blue tint than Tejo's, and his large eyes seemed narrowed. With determination, human vessel, Pell began without greeting. Your kind represents a danger this galaxy has not known. You bring weapons among the stars. Your very nature is shaped by conflict. For the safety of all peaceful species, you must return to your world and remain there. Captain Park stepped forward. Administrator Pell, We respect your concerns, but we reject your conclusion. Humanity has a right to explore space just as your people do. We have not threatened you in any way. Your ship is itself a threat, Pell countered. Your history of violence is written in your very design. We have studied your transmissions. Your world is scarred by thousands of years of warfare. Before the captain could respond, another transmission cut in. It was Scientific Director Rath from one of the protective vessels. Administrator, this action is unauthorized. The Council has not approved any aggressive measures. Stand down your platforms immediately. Pell's expression hardened. The Council debates while danger grows. Sometimes protection requires action. The transmission ended abruptly. On the view screen, they could see the terraforming platforms resuming their approach. 5 minutes to effective range. Jaewon updated. Captain Park turned to her crew. Options? We could disable their propulsion systems with targeted pulse strikes, Jaewon suggested. Non-lethal, but effective. That would only confirm their fears about us, First Officer Sunmi pointed out. Engineer Subin, who had remained quietly at the back of the bridge, suddenly spoke up. Captain, what if we show them what we could do, but don't actually do it? All eyes turned to him. Explain, the captain said. We could target their ships with our weapon systems, lock on with full visibility but never fire. Just show them we choose not to use our power. Taiho made a sound that the translation program identified as surprise. A demonstration of restraint, rather than force? Captain Park considered the idea. It was risky. If the Vidrani attacked during the demonstration, the Thunderchild would be vulnerable. But it might be their best chance to avoid conflict. Prepare the demonstration, she ordered, and open a channel to all Vidrani vessels. As communications officer Minsu worked, the captain addressed Taiho directly. I need you to explain to your people what we're doing and why. Can you do that? The Vidrani nodded, his posture straightening. I will try. All Vidrani ships receiving, Minsu announced. Captain Park faced the view screen. This is Captain Jiwoo Park of the UNS Thunderchild. What you are about to witness is a demonstration of humanity's choice. We have the capacity for war, yes, but also the wisdom to choose peace. She nodded to Security Chief Jaewon, who began the sequence. On the view screen, targeting displays appeared around each terraforming platform. Warning lights illuminated along the Thunderchild's hull as weapon ports opened. Our targeting systems are now locked on all 7 terraforming platforms, Captain Park continued. We could disable or destroy them before they reached effective range against us. This is the reality of our capability. She paused to let this sink in, then gave another signal. One by one, the targeting locks disappeared. The weapon ports closed, and this is the reality of our choice. We will not fire even when threatened. We ask only for the same respect in return. Taiho stepped forward, adding his voice to the transmission. My people, I have lived among these humans for days now. They are different from us, yes. They evolved as both predator and prey. They learned to fight because they had to fight. But they also learned to choose when not to fight. This moment is their choice. For long moments, no response came. The terraforming platforms continued their approach. 3 minutes to range, J1 reported softly. Then suddenly, the platforms began to slow. One by one, their energy signatures diminished. Administrator Pell's face appeared on screen again. There was confusion in his expression now, mixed with something like wonder. You could have struck us down, he said slowly. Yet you chose exposure over attack. Because war is not our purpose, Captain Park replied simply. Protection is. The platforms came to a complete stop. Behind them, more Vidrani vessels appeared. Diplomatic ships, according to Taiho. The Collective Council had finally acted, sending representatives to take control of the situation. As the immediate danger passed, Captain Park looked around her bridge. The crew was still tense, but there was pride in their faces now. They had faced their first true interstellar crisis not with weapons, but with restraint. The real work of building understanding between such different species was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the tense standoff near Proxima Centauri. The UNS Thunderchild floated in orbit around Earth, its hull now bearing new markings alongside the United Nations Space Force insignia. A flowing symbol in Vedrani script had been added, representing partnership and understanding. Captain Jiwoo Park stood in the observation lounge, watching the diplomatic shuttle approach from the planet below. The past months had been a whirlwind of negotiations, cultural exchanges, and careful trust-building between humanity and the Vedrani collective. "Nervous, Captain?" asked Taiho, who now served as the official Vedrani ambassador to Earth. He had remained aboard the Thunderchild by choice, fascinated by human culture and determined to build bridges between their species. "A little," Captain Park admitted. "It's not every day we relaunch a warship as a joint species exploration vessel." The Thunderchild had been selected as the first ship to carry both human and Vedrani crew members on a mission of peaceful exploration. Its weapons remained, but new systems had been added with Vedrani technology, including their advanced sensors and propulsion enhancements. The shuttle docked, and soon the observation lounge filled with officials from both species. Admiral Namgyu represented Earth's combined space forces. The Vedrani collective had sent Council Leader Mira, who had replaced Administrator Pell after the crisis. "This day marks a turning point," Admiral Namgyu began, addressing the gathered crowd. "When our species first met, misunderstanding nearly led to conflict. Today we embark together into the unknown." Council Leader Mira stepped forward. Her large eyes surveyed the gathered humans and Vedrani with evident satisfaction. "The stars are vast and filled with wonders neither of our species could discover alone," she said. "The Vedrani bring our knowledge of ecosystems and atmosphere. Humans bring their courage and protective instincts. Together we are stronger than apart." Captain Park watched as Engineer Subin guided a group of Vedrani engineers through the ship's newly integrated systems. They spoke an interesting mixture of both languages, technical terms flowing back and forth as they worked. In the medical bay, human doctors and Vedrani healers shared knowledge of their different biologies. The Vedrani approach to medicine focused on environmental balance, while humans had developed surgical techniques the Vedrani had never needed. "It's remarkable how quickly things have changed," Captain Park said to Taiho as they watched the interactions. "6 months ago, your people feared us as dangerous predators." "Some still do," Taiho admitted. "Change comes slowly to the Vedrani. We lived thousands of years without meeting any species that evolved as yours did. The concept of protective violence remains challenging for many to accept, and many humans still don't understand a species that developed without warfare," Captain Park replied. "But we're learning from each other." Admiral Namgyu approached them, holding a data tablet. "Captain Park, the final crew assignments have been approved. 37 humans and 23 Vedrani for the first joint mission. The ship will feel different with so many new perspectives aboard," Captain Park said. "That's exactly what we need," the Admiral responded firmly. "New perspectives as we push further into unexplored space." Later that evening, after the officials had departed, Captain Park found herself alone on the bridge with Taiho and Scientific Director Rath, who had also joined the Thunderchild's crew as lead Vedrani scientist. "May I ask you something, Captain?" Rath said, his voice thoughtful. "When you demonstrated your weapons but chose not to use them, was that decision difficult for you?" Captain Park considered the question carefully. "Not in that moment. I knew it was the right choice, but the training to be ready to fight when necessary, that is sometimes difficult." "Your species carries a heavy burden," Rath observed, echoing what Taiho had said during their first meeting. "Perhaps," the captain agreed, "but that burden also prepared us for challenges we might face together among the stars. Not all species we encounter may be as peaceful as the Vedrani." Taiho moved to the main view screen and activated it, showing the vast starfield beyond Earth. "My people have explored only a small region of space. We avoided any signs of other technological civilizations, fearing they would be like us. And instead you found humans," Captain Park said with a small smile. "Yes," Taiho replied. "Different in almost every way. Yet here we stand together." The next morning, the newly integrated crew assembled in the launch bay. Human crew members in their blue uniforms stood alongside Vedrani in their flowing silver garments. Captain Park looked out at them, feeling the weight of this historic moment. Our mission is to explore, to learn, and to represent the best of both our worlds, she announced. We carry with us the hopes of two very different species who have found common ground among the stars. The Thunderchild departed Earth's orbit, with its mixed crew, heading toward unexplored regions beyond Proxima Centauri. As they accelerated to faster-than-light speed, Captain Park watched human and Vedrani crew members working side by side at their stations. What had begun as fear and misunderstanding had transformed into something remarkable. Two species learning that different evolutionary paths could lead to compatible futures. The warship that had once sparked fear now carried hope into the depths of space.